everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we talk about real Canadian rugby. I'm Stu Hardy, joined as always by Derek Brissett. Derek, we had a bit of a double bill going on in Los Angeles this weekend because not only did we have Rugby LA play the New England Free Jacks, but we also had the opening round of the Pacific Four Series.
Yeah, and the team with the most Canadians won both of those. So there we go. Our big ups to our theory there. Obviously, solid rugby weekend, as many of them are these days, right? Like the MLR's in full swing. They hit their halfway mark. I do have to say, though, it's like this weekend watching some MLR games. This weekend, I feel like really had me missing the Arrows more than others, just because I'm like, as a Toronto sports fan, like I don't know if people not from Toronto understand what we have to go through, like living in this city. It's like the Raptors suck, the Jays suck, the Leafs suck. They've been losing to they're going to lose to the same team that they've been losing to for 11 years in the playoffs. They haven't beat the Boston Bruins in the playoffs since 1959, which is so long ago that the Leafs have won 4 cups since then. So just if you want to soak that in. So it's kind of wishing the Arrows were back, just to have something to cheer for. But luckily, the Canadian women came through on that front to make me feel good about my sport fandom choices in life, which are largely based on the geography of where I live. But
well, let's get into the game itself. As we mentioned, the opening round of the Pacific Four Series, there will be a break this coming weekend, and then we'll be getting into more games, including games involving both Australia and New Zealand. But that is then. This is now. Let's talk about what happened in LA. So we have the opening fixture, and someone pointed this out to me, and it's one of those things of like strange but true facts. Like, it doesn't seem real, but it is. This is the American women's first domestic game since 2021, when it was
way too long.
Yeah. Like, to put that into context, Canada had games in 2021. They didn't have games in 2021. They had games in 2022, including the warm-up fixtures for the Rugby World Cup. Then they hosted the Pacific Four Series last year, and this year they're going to be hosting WXV1. And the results of this game obviously helped that Canada can look to qualify to actually be in WXV1.
I didn't realize they still had to qualify for that. I was just kind of like, they're hosting it. Obviously, they would be in it, right? Isn't that normally how these tournaments work?
Well, ideally, yes, but no one's actually said what would happen if they didn't. But again, one of the teams they haven't lost to since 2019.
That would be honestly the most Rugby Canada thing ever to happen.
That would be
right. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to, which is the most important thing.
No, yeah. I hope it does not. I do not want that to happen.
But yeah, the United States haven't beaten Canada since 2019 in women's 15s, and that record looks set to continue. So the game opened with Canada getting the first try, which was, sets the record of like how the game's going to unfold. So it opened up, and we began with a try from Claire Gallagher. And, obviously when you have the greatest rugby player in the world on your team, sometimes they need a little bit longer to get like warmed up into all their positions. So some people say it's uncharacteristic that Sophie DeGoody missed the first 2 conversions of this game. We just say, no, she just needs an extra 20 minutes, get warmed up, and then, she's firing on all cylinders, as we'll prove later, because Letitia Royer also scored a try as well.
Didn't miss the poster in the wrong spot.
That's
Yeah,
that's one that's another reason as well, as
yeah.
in,
The
you know,
posts were in the wrong spot. She didn't
yeah,
miss
the wind blew so hard that the posts were in the wrong
the post.
place, and you can blame the groundsman for that, the post manufacturers, you know.
I knew honestly, like I knew USA Rugby would try something shady in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's despicable, is what it is what you can say. Because on the other end, those posts were perfectly placed. And as a result, Georgie Paris Redding was able to get a try underneath them, which allowed Gabriella Cantona to then get the conversion, which was the first conversion of the game. And what do you expect, honestly?
Oh, so
And
the
then so Canada saw that and were like, no, that's not going to happen again. And yeah, it's basically try after try after that point. So one more try, this time with the conversion as well, because Sophie had been able to overcome the moving posts. And, and then it ended 17-7 half time. Now, if we're being serious for a second, we've talked about games with the Canadian women before where it's like, we are doing so well that you have the chance to, I don't want to say, like, take your foot off the gas. You can try new things. You can have other players in the starting lineup because you want to give them international experience, more time in the jersey, and able to develop. And obviously we've got a World Cup coming up, so you need to get more experience from these players, especially if they've been spending more time in the sevens. But I can honestly say that at the start of the game, the USA were a bit more dynamic with the ball in hand compared to Canada. Obviously, Canada's set piece with the maul from the line out
Mhm.
did them wonders, as you can see from the first two tries of this game. Um, and I think that after Canada's third try, there was a bit of ill discipline and panic set in. There was a few high tackles that were performed, not to the degree of actually injuring any of the American players, but just, a little bit too high on the neck. So, that obviously gives the USA advantage, and then they're moving in. Um, opportunities going wasted. As well, there was some things of like, panic passing that didn't allow any of the players to develop momentum going into the end part of the first half. But ultimately, what they were skilled in doing was ensuring that their rush defense was still in place. So there was an excellent moment where the USA were within, I think, like inches of getting their second try, and then the ball was turned over because Canada's defense was just on it consistently at that point. But I think there was at least two try scoring opportunities in that first half for Canada that went missing. And again, this is against the USA, a team that Canada haven't lost to since 2019. But looking ahead to the game against New Zealand or the WXV against France and England, those teams are going to be far more disciplined than this. So you need to ensure that you're not conceding those mistakes going forward. Now, again, I understand this is probably a game in which you can have a little bit of leniency, but you need to be able to address this now before another team addresses it for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's kind of, I guess, in a way, like somewhat fortunate that the way the Pacific Four Series is set up is you get the USA first, right? And you can use that to build up to, playing Australia and the Black Ferns later. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing is though, is like this is a 50-7 game, where Canada was, in control the entire way. And I think there is a couple of, areas that, maybe could be corrected. You mentioned the high tackle thing. Um, there was that really silly review at the end of toward the end of the game, before the
Mm-hmm.
last try was scored, where I think the officials were reviewing, was it Senft for Gabriel Senft for like a high tackle, right? and then it was deemed that she actually didn't make a high tackle, right? Like her
Hmm.
tackle was actually legal, and then they just gave a card to Gallagher because there's been enough of these anyways. We can just give you a card. That was a super
Yeah,
weird review. I didn't. That was a super weird review, but whatever. It just put 14 on 14 on the field anyways.
yeah.
And I
I,
mean, at that point, it's 43-7. So I mean, like, whatever.
mhm.
But
In
they do
regards
need
to
to kind
that,
of clean up that a little bit, though. So I mean,
yeah.
you got away with it against the USA because you were killing the USA. But to your point,
Hmm.
like the Black Ferns will make you pay for that if you make
Hmm.
mistakes. But
So just onto that yellow card. First of all, gotta mention Tyler Miller, the referee of this game, was fantastic because anytime she blew the whistle, not only did she explain what the infringement was,
yeah,
but she would then explain to the captains why that decision had been reached. And
her
I thought
first,
that was
her first,
incredible communication. That was
that was her
fantastic.
her first 15s game too, wasn't it? That's what they said at the start of the broadcast. It was like it was her first
Well,
like
if it is, then
or her
you
first
know,
like I'm assuming by first 15s, first international 15s.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If that's the case, congratulations. And
I know. I don't think
no, but in
wasn't
all
bad.
honesty, as well, because her mic, obviously when it comes to like card making decisions,
Yeah.
she's mic'd, and that's the stadium announcement as well, because
Yeah.
you could hear when she was.
Well, it's the LA Galaxy Stadium, right? Like that's a
Yeah, I don't know if that is like because it's
because it's a
Dignity
better.
Health Sports Park, or if that's just something that they're trialing within World Rugby at the moment, so that the fans can also hear that clear reasoning behind it as well. But everything she was saying to the players was clear, and because she was mic'd for the broadcast as well, you could hear her
Yeah.
reasoning and her explanations as well. That was brilliant. But in regards to like the high tackles and stuff and Gallagher's yellow card, she had made numerous
Oh yeah, no, I want
referrals to Sophie Duguid,
I
who was off the field at that
at
time.
that time.
But
I just thought
yeah,
like the review was a little silly if you're just gonna hand them a yellow card anyways. Like
yeah,
even I was just like, just give a yellow card. Like at that point, I'm just like, it's 43-7. There's 4 minutes left in this game. Just give somebody a card and let's go home.
yeah.
We just but okay, so obviously like the high tackles added up a little bit at
Hmm.
stages in the game, but I really did enjoy like the physicality that Canada brought. They got to make sure in playing the Black Ferns and playing Australia, you got to make like keep that in check to like just legal hits,
Hmm.
ideally. But I think I really did like the physicality, and I think it's like it started like right from the jump too. There was a lot of big tackles. Canada's very physical at the breakdown, right? As the great Canadian philosopher Shorzy always says, you got to set the tone. And I think Canada did that early, right? They and there was the forward pack came up big early on in the game too, with two tries that well, Gallagher got the first try and she's the fly half, but like off of the tries were created by line out balls, and like they were able to establish that physicality. And even though like the USA did get one back, they never really relented in that. I think it's difficult to talk about this team without mentioning how goddamn amazing Sophie de Goody is at every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you were talking about, some of those USA opportunities that screeched to a halt, like, right on the Canadian line. And, part of some of those were Sophie de Goody getting some breakdown steals. And I think like, she was obviously brilliant at the breakdown and, scored two tries. And like her two tries were again like they're big physical carries, right? That are kind of like, you can find a gap, but you run hard, you run physical. If you have to go into contact, you go into contact with some intent, right? And
Hmm.
like, you can break through like the USA line. And I think, the Goody did a great job of that. And like I think like she being the captain really seemed to like lead the way in regards to the physical play that Canada brought. And yeah, like I know that at the end of the game, the referees did decide to be like, okay, there's been a few too many high tackles here. So we're gonna hand out a yellow card for just excessive infringements more than for a particularly vicious tackle. But like, it's penalties are penalties, right? But I think
Mhm.
like the positive way to look at that though too is like they're going to need to bring that type of physicality when they play Australia and the Black Ferns if they're going to be
Mhm.
successful against those teams too.
Mhm.
Just maybe crouch a couple centimeters lower, but like it's I mean you do have to bring that like the physicality, that kind of like no fear mindset, going into tackles, because I think that's gonna be how you have success in the Pacific Force series, and then later this year when you got to go to WXV1, right? So,
Yeah.
like, and like again, like the Red Roses are still out here. They got another Grand Slam this weekend, right? So they're still setting the bar, for women's rugby around the world right now, and like they're obviously an incredibly physical team too, right? So,
Mhm.
um, you know I can do without the penalties, obviously, as I'm sure Kevin Rouet can too. But I think like I'm really happy with the level of physicality that Canada brought and how all the players kind of went in with that. Seem to have gone in with a very physical mindset while also at the same time, especially the backs keeping, an expansive, innovative brand of attacking rugby mixed in with that as well.
Yeah. And speaking of the backs, it was Maddie Grant who got the first try of the second half.
Yeah.
And then Sophie Goody getting her double, Claire Gallagher um, getting, I think it was like the seventh try of the game, and then getting a yellow card. So, it balances out.
And then the best
And
try of the game after the yellow card too.
yeah, it was Julia Omakale, who was only on a second cap,
Yeah.
but this was her first international try in 15s. And that closed out the game after Alex Tessier got the conversion. Yes, we had the restart, but once Canada got the
Yeah.
ball, they kicked it into touch. And to be honest, the game was pretty much over from Maddie Grant's try, I'd
Yeah,
say.
no.
And
It was a pretty dominant second half from Canada, which you also like to see. The Omo Kwale's try at the end of the game was phenomenal. Just from like every element of like the execution of rugby in that was perfect.
mm,
Obviously, that was immediately following the Gallagher yellow card that we've been talking about here, right?
mhm,
So USA goes to, kicks to touch. They got a maul 5 meters out. Canada, shuts that down and then has a scrum, right? So they win their own scrum, they win their own scrum. So that's obviously, great defensive work from the forwards. And then they're able to, in the line out, and then they're also able to, you know, you know, set a good platform in the scrum, which their set piece was better than the USA all day.
mm,
But then, Tessier, kind of being like inside your own 22, you are winning 43-7. So maybe it gives you a little bit of a license to maybe um do some more high risk, high reward plays that you maybe otherwise wouldn't run in the situation. It was also 14 on 14 at this point in time. But that crossfield kick to Apps, who kind of has to eat a pretty big tackle and then but still manages to get the ball away to Bermudez to like start marching down the field. She breaks a couple tackles. All the forwards are in support. There's a lot of backs coming in support, right? And it's just, string together phase after phase, right? The USA can never get their defense to reset
mm,
before Amakwale finally, has the last break through the line and she scores her first international try. But it was just such a complete like team try, which is exactly I think what you love to see from the Canadian women's national team, right? Like starting with like the forwards being really physical in both the line out and in the scrum that followed, right? A lot of creativity, innovative play from the backs, expansive rugby, right? Like they're going from Bermudez on one wing to Matty Grant getting a couple touches on the opposite wing, right? And all the forwards and support, good support lines from everybody, backs jumping into, breakdowns when they need to. Um,
Hmm.
I I don't believe everybody on the team actually touched the ball, but everybody on the team was definitely involved in that try. All
Yeah.
14 that were still on the field at that point, right? And I don't like that was just I think it was kind of like it was a bit of a like perfect way to kind of bookend the game. The Canada's forwards, guy kind of got it started with a try where like the back Claire Gallagher as a back did finish it off, and then to have kind of like the ultimate team try, to kind of finish off the game. I think it was a strong way to like for the Canadian women to like bookend this game, and then a couple weeks off before going to well, I mean, guess maybe not weeks off because I mean, I guess they gotta go to Australia, but like
Yeah.
it's, a couple weeks
Yeah.
off before you have to actually play again. But
Yeah, a week's break in competition until
yeah,
we have
yeah,
that game against Australia at the Allianz Stadium in Sydney. And just to emphasize how strong Canada were, this fixture last year had Canada 50, United States 17. So to deny the US a further 10 points, shows just
I
how
think
strong
that's
Canada is.
I think that is the one thing though that it's like if you can be really happy with anything, like I mean, it's a 50-7 game, but it was
Yeah.
like, there's like I think what 33 unanswered points or something like that.
Hmm.
However, like after the USA actually got their try. But it was like the USA did manage to score a try. But for most of the rest of the game, you mentioned a couple of opportunities where they got down there, but then like, Sophie DeGoody had a couple breakdown steals and shut those down. But like for the most part, I didn't find the USA attack like overly threatening for the vast majority of the game
No, no.
or whatever. And like you mentioned the rush defense that Canada had, and like everybody was coming off the line really well. And like you said, it was like I think the physicality played a big part in this game too, right? And I think they can be really proud of the defensive performance that they put in. And I think, even more than the 50 points that they put up on their half of the scoreboard. It's like I think like that's a big positive that you can take into the games with Australia and New Zealand.
Indeed, absolutely. Right. Well, as we said, it's a couple of weeks till the next game, but there has been some news from one team in Canada, and that is the Vancouver Highlanders. So they keep adding to their squad. They have added Welshman Joe Locke, and they have added to their reserve squad Liam Kinghorn. But the big news that came out today was the brand new Vancouver Highlanders kits are available for all to see. And we've got a red kit and a white kit. I'm guessing the red will be like the home and the white will be the alternative. Um, and they look really good. They're made by O'Neill's and solid coloring. They have the Vancouver Highlanders logo over their left hand side. They have the Rugby Players Challenge on the right. And, a big enough space that if a certain company wants to sponsor the team, there's enough uh, real estate to place that there on the sleeves. And I think like down the sides of the kit is a lovely tartan design, red and black primarily.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be the big thing that gets a lot of people interested in getting replica kits. They have collars.
Yeah, the collars are a sweet touch. I really like O'Neill's stuff. The Aussie Rules football team I play for, the Toronto Dingoes, we have O'Neill's jerseys and they are delightful. They're super comfortable. So I'm a big fan of O'Neill's stuff. It's really good. And but like the jersey, like the design's amazing. Like I do love it. It's it looks very close to the like the photoshops that they've been doing of players
Mm,
as they've been signing. So it's not like it's not a super surprising design, because I think they did kind of follow the template or the initial design that they seem to be photoshopping onto players as they've been announcing them. So I'm not really
Yeah.
surprised that this is the design. But it looks great. Like actually, there's the pictures and the videos actually on the players. Both the black or sorry, both the red and the white kits look great. I honestly I'm a big fan of just the simple like invert the home kit for your away
Mm.
kit. Like I'm a big fan of that. The collar looks good. The Highlanders logo looks good. As you mentioned, the tartan down the side is the easily the best feature of this jersey, right? And it stands out. I think it stands out a lot more on the white kit just because I think it pops
Yeah.
off a little bit more. But like, yeah, I think they nailed this. Like it's a great looking kit. I do like too that we got is this the first time we've seen the Rugby Players Challenge logo? Because that's on the jersey too.
So
'Cause I
it's the
don't remember
first.
seeing that logo.
It's on the Vancouver Highlanders and the Rugby Player Challenge
Oh, is it
website,
on the website? Oh, okay.
but
Just kind of
this
forget.
is
It looks nice
so.
on the kit though.
But it differs between the jersey. So on the red jersey, it's fully white with the silhouette of the trophy, and on the white kit, it is blue
Blue, yeah.
with the white silhouette of the trophy. The Now looking at the kits, for the white kit, they don't show the numbers on the back, but on the red one, it is
Hmm.
white with a uh what's the right word to look for, like red
Right.
stencil inside,
Yeah,
and and able enough so that it pops the number, but
it's what your numbers
the
should look
black
like
edge
on.
also
Yeah,
makes it clear what it is.
it's honestly what numbers on the backs of any sports team jerseys should look like. They're
Yeah.
not the same color as the jersey, have an outline, make it easy to read,
Yeah.
do a cool font, but make it easy to read so it works. Um,
But yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think
I'm a big
these
fan of
kits
these. They
look,
look good.
yeah, these kits look great. The only question I have to ask is, does every player get a Claymore sword, or is that just for promotional purposes?
Um, why
And
not both?
it would
Why not both?
completely change
Why
the
not both? Yeah.
whole thing of
I
rugby
like
challenge,
the Claymore
but
sword, man. That'd be like that has like strong like player of the game award vibes.
yeah.
Or like you get the Claymore, maybe get like a cool helmet or something, like a helmet from like well, I was gonna say Gladiator. That's not Highlanders. I don't know, a helmet from like Braveheart. They wore helmets in Braveheart, right? Um, but it's yeah, like I don't know. Like I mean, honestly, like I mean, this is the first year of the team. It's one of the things that's like with a team name like the Highlanders is like it part of what makes it a good name is like if you are so inclined, you can have a lot of fun with that, right?
Mhm.
And you can do things like use a giant sword in your jersey, your kit reveal promotions and stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
well, I think like if if you want the game of rugby to succeed, there's obviously the on-field product, right, that
Hmm.
you want to make sure is enjoyable, but part of it is also the match day experience, the marketing around it, right? And it's like, if you have to generally make it like look appealing, and I mean, yeah, swords look cool. Swords have never not looked cool. Like you can do
Yeah.
anything with a sword and it looks cooler because you have a sword, right? So
Yeah.
it's I'm a big fan of it. I do wonder how many of these swords they do have though, because
Well,
there's
I'm pretty sure it's Duncan's sword, so I
it's
think they may
Duncan's
only
sword.
need the
Yeah,
one.
exactly. So, oh
Yeah.
man, dude, that'd be
Speaking of
great.
Duncan,
Yeah, so
uh,
we need the mascot to walk around with a real sword. That's what
yeah.
would be great for the kids.
Yeah. Speaking of Duncan, his Fitspiration, Curry Hitchborn, tweeted out with the images of the kit. Look good, play good. We begin the campaign on Wednesday with our first meeting as a group. The support has been monumental and the mission stays the same. And you know what? With kits like these, I am definitely looking forward to those games later this year.
Yeah,
I'm guessing now that when it's that double bill, one team will be wearing red and one team will be wearing white, and therefore there's no confusion whatsoever of who's playing. But I mean, yeah, excellent job with the kits.
Yeah, that's
look
cool.
fantastic. And, if there's a big sponsor or not, doesn't matter to me. They look fantastic just the way they are. Right. That's it for this episode. If you're looking to watch anything going forward, we have sevens this weekend coming up on rugbypass.tv. When the next round of the Pacific Four Series returns, it will be on TSN Plus. You can keep up to date with all the MLR games on the Rugby Network. And we have the Premiership and URC on Sportsnet as the Champions and Challenge Cup is on epcrugby.tv. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out more, as well as our written pieces on our website, therougerugby.ca. You can also find the podcast on Spotify, S4P, and Apple Podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel at The Rouge Rugby with episodes of the podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell notification, stay up to date with all our videos. We're also available across social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, all at The Rouge Rugby. Derek, where can people find you on social media?
At Percent the Jet across all social media platforms.
And you can find me across social media at Hardman, spelled H4RDMAN. Well, that's where we're going to end this episode. Derek, thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Rouge Rugby podcast, where we talk about real Canadian rugby. We hope you can join us again next time.